For more on the elections in Israel, we're joined by Nicolai Due-Gundersen in London. He's a political analyst at Kingston University and a former advisor to the Arab Institute for Security Studies. Nicolai, what do you make of what we just heard, that Benny Gantz is slightly ahead at this point?
Well, a lot of analysts aren't surprised by that because we always knew it was going to be a close call. What I find interesting is the fact that many Arab analysts and the Arab world in general assumed that Netanyahu was going to take the lead and was going to cement his position and win yet again. So the fact that his opponent is in the lead slightly shows that this is not necessarily the case, and perhaps we're going to see a bit of a change in Israeli politics.
And this is obviously not a done deal yet, and a lot could change as results come in. But how much do you think Israel's very close relationship between Netanyahu, I should say, and President Trump, how much has that impacted the vote? Has it hurt or helped Benjamin Netanyahu at the polls?
Well, Netanyahu's main image or theme is security, security, security. This is what most of his voters want, and it's what he's been campaigning on. Israel's security, more settlements that will be crystallized regardless of how international law views those settlements. And you're quite right to mention Trump, because the fact that Trump has recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel and also recognized Jerusalem should have empowered Netanyahu, because this is his main point, to say that Israel does have a right to exist within the region and that its settlements also have a right to exist. So from that perspective, you would expect that the relationship with Washington should have actually helped his election rather than have hindered it. On top of that, Netanyahu has done, some would argue, quite a good job of networking in the region. We've suddenly seen him networking not only with Saudi Arabia's Mohammed bin Salman, but other Gulf states and leaders who have welcomed him quite publicly in some cases. Again, that should have fed into his campaign, and it should have strengthened his ability to win. We don't have the results just yet, but it's still surprising because of that background that he's not in the lead.
Nicolai, what about scandals and ongoing investigation? It seems Netanyahu still enjoys popularity in the country.
That's a very good point to pick up on, because there are scandals surrounding Netanyahu right now, corruption charges that may surface and crystallize. At the same time, he's treating them as a witch hunt. He's saying that, no, listen, this is a left-wing witch hunt against a popular right-wing politician. I think that's a very good point, that he is, to a degree, popular in Israel. Let's not forget another thing. There are two points here. Firstly, we have seen former Israeli politicians jailed on corruption charges. So some domestic observers would argue that this means that the system in Israel works, that there is a robust legal system. However, for us to go from scandal to actual legal charges, there has to be a process. There has to be an official charge, and then we're going to have a trial, and that trial could take months, it could take years, and that's something that Netanyahu is no doubt more than aware of. I wouldn't be surprised if he continues to protest innocence and to say that it's a witch hunt if he wins the campaign, up to the point where there actually are formal charges or even a trial.
And Nicolai, let me turn to the Israeli Arab turnout, which is really at a historic low. Where do they stand in this election, and why are Israeli Arabs not showing up at the polls?
Well, I mean, we can go back to how the region sees it, that, again, the belief that Netanyahu was going to win, but also how so-called Israeli Arabs view their position within Israel. To what extent do they regard themselves as second-class citizens? There have been remarks by Netanyahu himself and other campaigners arguing that Israel is exclusively for Israelis. So we're back to this nationalist rhetoric of Israel is only for Israelis, not for Israeli Arabs. And so there's a very exclusatory rhetoric here. Although some of that was off the cuff by Netanyahu, he kind of retracted what he said, it still sent a message, and I do believe that many Arabs within Israel are feeling that message, and they are responding by saying, we're not going to turn out because we already feel that we will not have any voices heard, and the election is a foregone conclusion.
Nicolai Due-Gundersen joining us live from London. Thank you.